they have the Olsen twins there. But you know, it's how willing are you to put yourself out there? Do you really believe in this process? Do you have a business plan? Do you have a feasibility study that kind of backs that up? Look at standard of living as well. One of the things that I really like to talk about with standard of living is everybody likes to complain, right? I mean, I really like Twitter, and one of the things that one of the hashtags you always see going around on Twitter are the hashtag first world problems, and you know, standing in line too long, Starbucks coffee's way too hot, hashtag first world problems. Well, we really have it pretty darn good if you look at it from that perspective. If you look at how much money we earn, what that money can buy, we are way ahead of the world in a lot of different areas. We'll look at that, you know, if you get into some of the different classes here and you investigate how much people earn in other countries. I know Nike has had problems with this. I know Apple has had problems with this. You know, we are getting paid, you know, we're in the top 2%, top 1% of the entire world in terms of the money we make. And what we can buy with that, what our purchasing power is with that, is extraordinary. It also goes to, you know, what our quality of life is going to be. You know, do you have the ability to make decisions on your own? Do you have the ability to start a business if you want to? We'll talk a little bit about entrepreneurship here and in future chapters, but do you even have access to all these key things? A lot of places, if you talk to your fellow classmates, you don't have that. Whether it's political freedom, whether it's the ability to make choices about your future, about your education, some of those things aren't going to be in place. Whenever we make decisions, whenever an entrepreneur makes decisions, whenever a business makes decisions, most of the time they take into account stakeholders. These stakeholders are going to be people who are impacted by any decision you make. So I want to take this from a personal standpoint again, right? When you make the decision to come back to school, people are impacted by that. Columbus State gets some type of revenue from you coming back to school. Whether you get financial aid or not, they get some sort of revenue. If you look at your local gas station, they're going to get more money from you if you're driving down to campus or not. The babysitter, if you have kids, is going to get money because you're going back to school. Your family may have less income in the short term, but more income in the future. So when we look at these things from a personal standpoint, it's kind of easy to see who all gets impacted from that. But if you also look at it from a business's standpoint, and let's look at Zettler Hardware up in Worthington. You know, they've been in business for, I don't know, maybe like 60, 70, 80 years. But they just went out of business here in the last month or so. You look at all the people that business reached, right? Banks, insurance people, suppliers, vendors, customers, employees, government, taxes, schools. All these different people get impacted by the decisions of people to go into business, go out of business, hire people, fire people. And so when you start thinking about stakeholders, just think about all those different people that are impacted by a decision that you make or a decision that other people can make. When we look at outsourcing and insourcing, I always like the Seinfeld reference. You know, he outsources, I believe, or he imports exports. He imports matchsticks and potato chips or something like that. But anyway, if you look at what this kind of means, you know, can we get rid of operations that don't make us a lot of money, that don't have a lot of value, but that cost us money? If you look at some big companies recently, Burger King, I believe, just bought Tim Hortons. But Burger King decided to move their operations to Canada. Now, there's a lot of reasons why they do that, but they outsourced all that, right? They did it primarily for the tax advantages. But that is huge outsourcing. Burger King is not a Canadian company. Tim Hortons is not an American company. But there's certain reasons why they go to all those different locations. There's certain reasons why they bring business in, why they take business out of local economies. I know most of you people aren't going to recognize who Muhammad Yunus is. He started Grameen Bank probably 30 years ago, actually probably longer than that, and he won a Nobel Prize. He actually went to school here in the United States, went back to his native land. I want to say it's India, but I don't think that's right. Bangladesh. And what he did is he started a bank, and he started a bank that was based upon lending money to people who didn't have collateral to pay that loan back. And if you think about that concept, no bank here in the United States would do that, right? You go to the bank for a loan, and it doesn't matter what it's for. It's for a car loan, it's for a home equity loan, it's for a business loan. They're going to say, okay, well, what can you put up in the case that this goes bad? One in Muhammad Yunus's case, he went to a lot of local and rural villages, tribes, and said, okay, who can I loan money to that's gonna hire more people, that's gonna make a profit, that's gonna change the way they live. There's a lot of great stories. I encourage you to Google Muhammad Yunus and figure out more about Grameen Bank. But it's really turning the concept of profits and why you be an entrepreneur on its head. If you look at some American examples, it's going to be your Tom Shoes. It's going to be people that are businesses that were started just to help solve a problem in society. They can still be for profit. They can still make money. It doesn't have to be a nonprofit. But there's a different reason why people are getting into business. If you look a little bit about just the 5 factors of production, I'm not going to go into this a whole heck of a lot, but you do have to have these concepts when you want to go and start making money. What I do want to focus on is going to be more of your business environment. What are those impacting decisions that influence your decision making, right? So if you just look at business management and job creation, what really impacts that? Well, it's going to be the economic and legal environment. What's going on from a local, from a national, from a global environment standpoint that's going to impact your ability to make decisions or impact the decisions that you do make. Look at the competitive environment, customer service, stakeholder recognition, employee service, concern for the environment. These are generally things, if you look at stakeholders and concern for their environment, that's not why you go into business, right? But customer service in a service-oriented industry is huge nowadays. Most of the time when you buy a product, an actual physical product, it's not just that gallon of milk that you want. It's what all goes into it, how it's sold to you, how it's portrayed. If you look at the social environment, diversity, demographic changes, family changes, what are we talking about with that? If you look at the 1950s and you have the nuclear household and you have the mom and the dad and the 2.5 kids and a dog and all those types of things, that's not what the United States looks like anymore. Even if you look at it from some of the demographic shifts, and we'll look at that here in a couple slides, everything is changing. How does that impact your decision making from a business standpoint? The technological environment, if you look at what's a good way to explain this? How you pay for things, how that's changed within the past 15 years. PayPal didn't exist 15 years ago. If you look at credit cards and all the technology that goes into a credit card, there's going to be little kiosks so you can just wave your wallet across and it'll record the payment. All these different things are supposed to increase efficiency, increase production, increase sales. So you look at barcodes and you look at quick read codes and you look at QSRs and all those types of things that you can scan with your phone. How is technology making us more productive and even less productive as well? Alright, one of the things that we talked about earlier is going to be that service-based economy. If we aren't manufacturing as many products anymore, if we're going more towards customer service or providing consulting or whatever it may be from a service standpoint, what does empowerment really mean? If you look at some of your past jobs, the jobs you had in high school, serving ice cream, working at Kohl's or working at Target or whatever it may be, it's all customer service, right? So from an empowerment standpoint, we want our managers, we want our management, we want our bosses to be able to give us the ability to make decisions on the fly. So there's a couple things that you have to worry about with that. One, you have to train people in the right system so they're not going off script and damaging that brand, damaging that name too much. But it also gives people a sense of satisfaction, workers a sense of satisfaction. It gives workers a sense of being able to take pleasure out of their job. And if they can go to work and they know that their boss trusts them, man, it makes the entire experience that much better. And so when you do that, and those frontline employees can impact the decisions made by your customers, then everybody starts getting better results, more productive results. You get returning customers, you get referrals, and so that sense of empowerment really goes back and forth. what you need to do from the empowerment standpoint is look at your previous jobs where your boss didn't let you do anything, right? You had to check with them no matter what question came across. And then flip the script a little bit. What are those instances and what did you take away when your boss said, okay, just handle this for me? And you did a good job, right? They believed in you. So we're going to look at that. The next couple slides, I believe if you look at slides 15 through 19 that I have uploaded here, it's demography. It's a changing demographics. If you just look at this, it's a study of how populations change. But what we really want to look at is, well, what does that population change mean? If you look at within the past 30 years, there's been a huge population shift from northern states to southern states. And I think we all know why that is. The economy has suffered. The weather isn't that great up here, as I sit in January talking about this. But there's different reasons why people move and change. You not only look at how people change from north to south, you look at the types of people, right? Are there more men? Are there women? Are there more minorities? What age groups? What different nationalities are represented? And so you start to see all these changing things, and it impacts, it's a very big stakeholder group of what businesses try to do, how they make their profits. Businesses, in the next 20 years are going to be appealing more towards a Hispanic culture that they never had to in the past 20 years. And so you're going to start to see a lot of different changing things here in Ohio or wherever you may be, based upon what the demographics of the United States and that local region actually say. If you look at the demography of the United States by age, you have a quarter of the people here in 2011, 2012 that were under 18 years old. Well, that means college is going to be a huge deal over the next 10 years. All those people going. If you look at the baby boomers, unfortunately those 65 years and older, they're not going to be around forever. And so how's that going to shift the changing demographics of the United States? You look at race by 2050, whites make up the minority at this point in time, right? Hispanic 29, black 13, Asian 9. So you start to see more and more races, more and more ethnicities coming into the United States and altering what the United States actually looks like. If you look at how this is viewed by a lot of people, it's going to have a lot of different pieces and parts. Population shifts, opportunities for some and limiting others. Growth of single-parent households. What does that mean? When those kids get to a more advanced age, high school, college, how does that change their buying habits as well? These are all going to be things that really impact the future of the United States and your future as well, no matter where you're going to be working. You also have to look at how prevalent, how ready to buy, how ready to purchase things you can get across the world, right? You look at Amazon, you look at Alibaba that went public over in China, and you see huge marketplaces, e-commerce platforms, website or databases that you can buy anything from anywhere, right? And with Amazon, you can get it at any point in time with all the drones that they're going to have. And so you start to see all these changing things come in, and it's not just what is happening here in Columbus, Ohio, but it's what's happening in Tampa, Florida, what's happening in Bangladesh, and all these different places that impact your buying. The last part that we're going to talk about today is the evolution of business. We are very much in the information age right now. We get information from the time we wake up in the morning to the time we go to bed at night. It's at our fingertips, but that's not always the way it was, right? So what I want to do is I want to run through these real quick, but then I want to go to Caterpillar Incorporated because I think it's a great example of this progression. So if you look at it, Caterpillar, if you don't know what they do, they make the big heavy machinery. Where do they start? Did they start just making those big bulldozers and excavators and things like that, or did they have a growth from some other area? But we're going to look at that real quick. So you look at the 1800s, the agriculture area. Farming. That's what the United States was. Cotton gin, all these things to make those farmers more and more productive. If you look at more technology advances, this led to fewer farmers with larger farms because everybody had the ability to get in here and do some of the things that they were doing. If you look at the manufacturing, industrialization in the 19th and 20th centuries moved jobs from farms to factories. You saw a lot of people move from from rural areas into cities. That's why you saw Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Detroit and New York and all these places get overpopulated, because that's where the jobs were, that's where the factories were. As technology improved, productivity, fewer workers were needed in factories. Well, that's what you see now as well. You see more robots taking the auto lines, and you see things that are more automated. Even factories, even warehouses become more automated, and what happens to manufacturing as far as that goes. You look at service, makes up about 70% right now of the U.S. economy. So we already talked a little bit about that. It's not just computers, all the things that go into the actual making of the computer. Generated almost all increases in employment, more high-paying jobs than in service industries, right? So if you think about what this really means is, we're getting paid more to consult on how to build a computer than we are actually paying the people who build the computers. You look at engineers and what they make versus the people who are actually out there working, the general laborers, things like that. That's what we're talking about. And lastly, information technology. This isn't so much a change from service-based, it's just another layer on top of it. You look at agriculture, you look at industry, you look at service. We're taking all this information and we're adding it on top of everything we do already. So if you look at Esurance, if you look at Progressive, if you look at any of those online insurance companies, right, they are still a service-based industry. That's all that they ever are. But because they have so much information right on their fingertips about who makes the best client, what their premium should be, what type of insurance they should have. They just gather all this information at once, and they're able to make better decisions based upon that. So let's go back real quickly to Caterpillar, right? So we're going to open this up, and if you open up any of the revised copies of the PowerPoint that I provide to you, you will be able to see these as well. You'll be able to go out to the links as well. So let's just look really quickly at what Caterpillar has been about. Alright, obviously we talked about what Caterpillar does. They manufacture a lot of these things. For nearly 90 years has been making sustainable progress possible and driving positive change on every continent to help them develop infrastructure, energy, natural resource, all these types of things. So we're going to go down to history, like what they have to say here. Now you look at that, you say, okay, that's not necessarily agriculture, that's going to be more manufacturing, right? That's what they're trying to do. A Holt steam traction engine works on the construction of a section of San Francisco's cable car system. You look at all the different key pieces and parts about why they were doing these types of things. If you look at Caterpillar originally, they were wood wagons, they were wood tractors. Well, wood wagons and tractors were because of agriculture. That's why these things started, right? And you look and you see how they grow, and you see how they kind of reinvent themselves. You look at the 1950s, they're building railways. Diesel engines, tractors, and scrapers play a role in recovery efforts following a disastrous flood. Help construct and operate Air Force Base at Thule. Construct a 10.5 mile long Astopia superhighway through the Andes Mountains. Well, that's not agriculture anymore, is it? No, that's manufacturing, and that's what they're still known to do. If you look at where it comes into play with service-based, right? Well, Caterpillar in and of itself, and this is just like every other manufacturer out there, they're gonna sell it to you, right? They're gonna have a sales force. They're gonna have a service if something breaks down. If you actually look at how Caterpillar is structured, you have main Caterpillar in Illinois, and then all the different branches are actually franchises, right? They're operated separately. You have Ohio Cat, and at Ohio Cat in Cleveland, you have all these different branches throughout Ohio and Indiana and places like that. They're going to have financing. So if you buy a car from GM, if you buy a Chevy, you can get financing through GMAC. You can get financing through Ally or any of these other banks. So they're making money a lot of different ways now. It's very much a service-based industry. And then lastly, if you look at information, right? If you look at what does that really mean? How do we apply information to Caterpillar? Well, one thing's now that they put on their tractors, their bulldozers, I mean whatever it is, right? It's GPS. Everything is GPS. Why? Why does a tractor need GPS? Well, the concept is if you sell that tractor, you sell that seeder or whatever it may be to the farmer, if they use GPS, they can get more seeds, more rows, more plants, more profit in. And therefore, you have more information making those decisions and driving those decisions. It is very much an industry or a, information-based industry now. And so we're going to start to see how all these things really come together and play when we have to make those decisions. And last, I mean, if you look at it, no, I already got out of it. Hold on one second. You look at how it impacts agriculture, you look how it impacts industry, you look how it impacts service, all those different things. And Caterpillar's a great example, because when you go and you start making wooden tractors, right, you can't do that forever. And so you start to progress through, and how do we make ourselves better? How do we stay in business? And that last part is, you have to provide value to your customers. Those farmers need more money. And if you look at the type of equipment, the type of things that will make them more money, it's got to be more information based. It's got to be driven from that standpoint. So that is chapter 1. I covered a lot of different areas. Don't just listen to this, dive into it from your own standpoint as well. But I appreciate you taking the time to listen to it, and I'll see you again for chapter 2 and in the future. Thanks for your time, guys.
सो हेलो एंड वेलकम बैक एवरीवन टू दिस अनदर वीडियो। आज के वीडियो में हम लोग बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट के बारे में जानने वाले हैं, जो कि इकोनॉमिक्स का लेसन 7 होगा। ये लगभग 2 पार्ट में ख़त्म हो जाएगा, पार्ट 1 एंड पार्ट 2 में ख़त्म हो जाएगा ये चैप्टर, और बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग चैप्टर है। हम लोग देखने वाले हैं कि यार बिज़नेस एनवायरनमेंट किसको कहते हैं। सर यार बिज़नेस एनवायरनमेंट जो है ना सर, हमने क्लास 11, 12, 10, 9 ठीक है, और बीकॉम वाले बच्चे बीकॉम ठीक है चीज़ में पढ़ते आ रहे हैं सर। इसमें नया क्या है सर? नया कुछ नहीं है भाई, सब सेम है। वी जस्ट हैव टू लर्न एंड रीड वट हैवर वी हैव लर्न एंड रेड इन दी पास्ट फ्यू ईयर्स ठीक है। तो अपन लोग ने जो भी पढ़ाई की है ना, उसी को रिवीजन करने वाले हम लोग। बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट नया कुछ भी नहीं है। हाँ, थोड़ा नया चीज़ है, एक चीज़ नया है कि कुछ ऑफ टॉपिक्स बातें भी बताए हैं उन्होंने यहाँ पे, जो कि बिज़नेस इन्वायरमेंट मतलब इंडिया में जो बिज़नेस कैसे ग्रो कर रहा है उससे रिलेटेड ठीक है। इंडिया में किस किस सेक्टर में कौन सा बिज़नेस ग्रो किया है उससे रिलेटेड बातें समझ में आ रहा है, वो यहाँ पे बताया गया। ये आपको क्लास 11, 12 बीकॉम और 10, 9, 8 तब तो नहीं मिलता होगा, समझ में आ रहा है ना। तो हम लोग यहाँ से पढ़ने वाले, यहाँ से स्टार्ट करने वाले। आज का पहला टॉपिक होगा व्हाट इज़ बिजनेस इन्वायरमेंट। ओके, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है भाई, व्हाट इज़ बिजनेस इन्वायरमेंट। ओके, बिजनेस इन्वायरमेंट क्या होता है। आज का जो मैं डेफिनेशन आपको बताने वाला हूँ ना, वो समझ लो ज़िंदगी में कभी आप भूलोगे नहीं कि बिजनेस इन्वायरमेंट क्या होता है। सर हमको पता है, मुझको पता है कि तुमको पता है, लेकिन एग्जामिनर को पता नहीं है कि तुमको पता है। समझ में आ रहा है ना? हाँ जी, हाँ, रिलेट करो। ये डेफिनेशन मैं जो आपको बोलने जा रहा हूँ ये बुक में नहीं है, बुक का अलग डेफिनेशन है। बुक का जो डेफिनेशन है ना बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट का, वो मोस्टली एक्सटर्नल बातें किए गए हैं। हमने इंटरनल और एक्सटर्नल दोनों समझाना है आपको आज। तो बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट क्या होता है कि भाई देखो, बिजनेस के सराउंडिंग ठीक है और उसके अंदर में 2 प्रकार के इन्वायरमेंट होता है। बिजनेस में हमेशा याद रखना, ये जो बिजनेस है, ये जो एक दुकान है, फैक्ट्री है, जो कुछ भी कह लो ठीक है, इसमें बाहर एक एक्सटर्नल इन्वायरमेंट है और अंदर, इसके अंदर ही अंदर एक इंटरनल इन्वायरमेंट है। उस इंटरनल इन्वायरमेंट और एक्सटर्नल इन्वायरमेंट दोनों में क्या होता है सर, इंटरनल इन्वायरमेंट और एक्सटर्नल इन्वायरमेंट क्या होता है मैं समझाता हूँ। पहले ये चीज़ समझ लो कि इंटरनल इन्वायरमेंट एंड एक्सटर्नल इन्वायरमेंट दोनों मिला के हम लोग बिजनेस इन्वायरमेंट कहते हैं। बिजनेस इन्वायरमेंट क्या होता है, इंटरनल इन्वायरमेंट एंड एक्सटर्नल इन्वायरमेंट दोनों को मिला के हम लोग कहते हैं कि हाँ जी भाई ये बिजनेस इन्वायरमेंट है। अभी इंटरनल इन्वायरमेंट जो है ना वो क्या होता है। इंटरनल इन्वायरमेंट क्या होता है मैं एक चीज़ बताता हूँ। कुछ भी इंटरनल एक्टिविटी समझो, कुछ भी बिजनेस के अंदर जो एक्टिविटी हो रहा है, कुछ भी इंटरनल एक्टिविटी जो कि बिजनेस का ना, बिजनेस को एक प्रकार से अफेक्ट करता है। सर कौन से प्रकार में अफेक्ट करता है? बिजनेस में कोई भी चॉइस करने के लिए ठीक है, अगर बिजनेस कोई भी प्रकार का चॉइस करना चाहता है तो ठीक है, या फिर कोई भी एक्टिविटीज़ करना चाहता है तो, या फिर कोई भी डिसीजन लेना चाहता है बिजनेस ठीक है, या फिर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कुछ भी कह लो, तो उसमें जो इंटरनली जो फैक्टर्स अफेक्ट करते हैं, समझो इंटरनल फैक्टर्स सर कैसे अफेक्ट करते हैं। देखो एक बात समझो, एक चीज़ कि कोई भी ऐसा चीज़, ठीक है, कोई भी ऐसा इंटरनल फैक्टर जो बिजनेस के डिसीजन को हिला सकता है, चॉइस को हिला सकता है, एक्टिविटीज़ को हिला सकता है, वो हो जाता है इंटरनल एनवायरनमेंट। सर वो कौन से फैक्टर्स एक बार बता दीजिए। मैं बताऊंगा, जैसे कि लेबर्स, ठीक है, लेबर्स। और बताओ सर, जैसे कि आपका मैनेजमेंट, ठीक है, ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेस, आपका बिजनेस का साइज कितना बड़ा है, साइज, ओके, क्वालिटी, फिनेंशियल फॉरकास्ट, प्लान्स, पॉलिसीज़, ऐसे करके ना 14 अलग अलग प्रकार के इंटरनल फैक्टर्स हैं। अभी सबका नाम तो नहीं लेने वाला बिकॉज इररिलेवेंट हो जाएगा, आपके यहाँ पे जितना पढ़ना है उतना पढ़ना है, ओके। तो मैंने एग्जाम्पल के हिसाब से यहाँ पे लिखा है। तो इंटरनल एनवायरनमेंट क्या होता है एक बार देख लेते हैं। इंटरनल एनवायरनमेंट क्या होता है कि भाई ऑल द इंटरनल फैक्टर्स दैट अफेक्ट द चॉइसेस, activities and decisions of the organization such as, जैसे कि सर, जैसे कि human resources, labor management, quality and size infrastructure, financial forecast, plans and policies, ठीक है, ये हो जाते internal environment, ठीक है। ये अफेक्ट करता है किसी भी बिजनेस के डिसीजन को, एक्टिविटी को, ठीक है, चॉइस को अफेक्ट करता है, समझे। एक चीज़ बताओ मेरे को, अगर बिजनेस, अगर ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, मैं एक चीज़ बताता हूँ आपको, अगर ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कोई भी ऐसा बिजनेस करना चाहता है या फिर कोई भी ऐसा एक्टिविटी करना चाहता है, कोई भी ऐसा टास्क करना चाहता है जिसमें लेबर फोर्स बहुत ज़्यादा लगेगा, ठीक है, लेबर फोर्स बहुत ज़्यादा लगेगा, और पकड़ ले यार इस बिज़नेस में, इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में इतना लेबर फोर्स नहीं है, तो लेबर फोर्स डिटरमाइन करेगा कि नहीं करेगा कि इसको वो एक्टिविटी करना चाहिए कि नहीं चाहिए। हाँ, मेरे बिजनेस में अगर लेबर्स कम है ना, मेरे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में अगर लेबर्स कम है ना, तो मैं कैसे वो एक्टिविटी कर सकता हूँ, अफेक्ट करता है ना भाई मेरे डिसीजन को। मैं चाहता हूँ ये, लेकिन मेरे पास लेबर नहीं है, तो ये क्या हो जाता है, लेबर एक फैक्टर हो जाता है। फैक्टर क्या होता है, वो एक इम्पॉर्टेंट हिस्सा, एक इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ जो डिटरमाइन करता है मेरा चॉइस, एक्टिविटी, डिसीजन टेकिंग पावर को। समझ में आ रहा है, ये हो गई इंटरनल बातें। अभी थोड़ा एक्सटर्नल बात कर ले। एक्सटर्नल इन्वायरमेंट में क्या होता है भाई, एक्सटर्नल इन्वायरमेंट का मतलब होता है कि ऑल द एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर्स अफेक्टिंग द चॉइसेस, एक्टिविटीज़ एंड डिसीजंस ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, ठीक है। चॉइस को अफेक्ट करता है, एक्टिविटीज़ को अफेक्ट करता है, ठीक है, डिसीजन मेकिंग को अफेक्ट करता है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के। अभी एक्सटर्नल एनवायरनमेंट में ना दो प्रकार के फैक्टर्स होते हैं, एक होता है माइक्रो फैक्टर, एक होता है मैक्रो फैक्टर। माइक्रो फैक्टर मतलब छोटा, मैक्रो मतलब बड़ा। अभी सुनो, माइक्रो फैक्टर्स में क्या कौन कौन आता है। माइक्रो फैक्टर्स में आते हैं कस्टमर्स, सप्लायर्स, कंपिटिटर्स एंड पब्लिक। देखो नाम सुन के लग रहा है ये बाहर के लोग हैं। कस्टमर, हाँ जी सर। सप्लायर, हाँ जी सर। कंपटीटर, हाँ जी सर। ये तो बाहर बैठते बिजनेस के, अंदर थोड़ी ना बैठते हैं। ये होता है एक्सटर्नल एनवायरनमेंट जो कि बिजनेस के बाहर है। मैक्रो फैक्टर्स जैसे कि इकोनॉमिक्स, पॉलिटिकल एंड लीगल, टेक्नोलॉजिकल एंड सोशल फैक्टर्स। समझ में आ रहा है, ये सारे फैक्टर्स है। पॉलिटिकल फैक्टर, लीगल फैक्टर, टेक्नोलॉजिकल फैक्टर, सोशल फैक्टर, इन सब सारे फैक्टर के बारे में हम लोग बात करने वाले हैं। टेंशन नहीं लेने का, ठीक है, सब बात करने वाले हम धीरे धीरे। अभी आपकी जो मटेरियल है इसमें मोस्टली आपका मैक्रो फैक्टर्स के बारे में बताया गया है, ठीक है। बस ये फैक्टर्स के बारे में मोस्टली उन्होंने बातें किया है, ना कि इंटरनल, ना कि एक्सटर्नल के माइक्रो फैक्टर्स के बारे में ज़्यादा बातें नहीं किया गया है। मैक्रो फैक्टर्स के बारे में बहुत ज़्यादा बातें किया गया है, हम लोग देखेंगे, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। अभी बिजनेस इन्वायरमेंट का मतलब समझ में आ चुका है कि बिजनेस इन्वायरमेंट क्या होता है। हाँ जी, हाँ जी सर, क्लियर है। चलो नेक्स्ट में चलते हैं। अभी दो बंदे हैं, अभी आपको पता है यार, पढ़ तो रहे हैं तो ये तो लिख नहीं सकते हम जो हम पढ़ रहे हैं, हमको वही लिखना है कि बहुत बड़े बड़े दिग्गज लोग जो बोल कर गए हैं ना, वही लिखना है अपने को। तो एक बंदा है जिसका नाम है केथ डेविस, ठीक है। और ये बंदा नहीं है वो, ये मैंने एग्जाम्पल के लिए पुट किया है। तो इस बंदे के जो ये फेस है ना, इसको अपने दिमाग में बिठा लो तो एक आता है ना, इमेजिन करने में थोड़ा आसानी होता है कि हाँ वो केथ ने क्या बोला था, वो वाला बंदा ने क्या बोला था। तो केथ ने बोला था, या फिर केथ डेविस, कुछ भी क्या लोग टाइटल से बोलते, टाइटल ज़्यादा इजी है। डेविस ने क्या बोला था कि बिजनेस इन्वायरमेंट इज़ द एग्रीगेट ऑफ ऑल कंडीशंस, इवेंट्स एंड इन्फ्लुएंसेस दैट सराउंड्स दैट अफेक्ट इट। बिजनेस इन्वायरमेंट क्या है सर? सारे कंडीशंस, इवेंट्स, इन्फ्लुएंस का एग्रीगेट है, ठीक है। सारे कंडीशन मतलब, हाँ कंडीशन मतलब कंडीशन, इवेंट्स जो कि हो रहे हैं एक्सटर्नली, इंटरनली, एंड इन्फ्लुएंसेस दैट सराउंड्स एंड अफेक्ट्स इट्स, ठीक है, जो सराउंड करते हैं एक बिजनेस को और अफेक्ट करता है किसको, बिजनेस को, वो होता है बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट, ठीक है। अभी एंड्रयू वाला बंदा ने क्या बोला, एंड्रयू ने बोला, ये वाला बंदे ने बोला, द इन्वायरमेंट ऑफ अ कंपनी एज द पैटर्न ऑफ ऑल एक्सटर्नल इन्फ्लुएंसेस दैट अफेक्ट्स इट्स लाइफ एंड डेवलपमेंट, ठीक है। क्या है सर, द इन्वायरमेंट ऑफ अ कंपनी एज द पैटर्न ऑफ ऑल एक्सटर्नल इन्फ्लुएंसेस, ये एक्सटर्नल इन्फ्लुएंसेस के बारे में बात करें। मैंने बताया था आपके बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट में ज़्यादातर एक्सटर्नल बातें के बारे में बताया गया है, इंटरनल बातें किए नहीं वो लोग, एक्सटर्नल में ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टेड थे, तो एक्सटर्नल बातें हम लोग सीखने वाले। तो क्या बता रहे हैं भाई एंड्रयू यही बता रहे हैं, सेम चीज़ बता रहे हैं कि बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट क्या है, एक कंपनी का जो एक्सटर्नल इन्वायरनमेंट है ना,